All right, so this is our last call of 2022, the year that just blurred right past all of us. So the next 2 weeks, we're going to take a time out. I'll email everybody to let you know, hey, cancel and then cancel, and we're back then the following week, and we'll start the new year off getting Sebastian's thoughts on 2023 and goals and all that other good stuff. But I'm hoping you guys take the time, obviously, to reflect and set your goals and come in strong for 2023. And as I discussed in my, last week, listen, you need somebody you're checking in with once a month. Like, I don't want to ask you in June, hey, are you on track with your 2023 game plan? You're like, I haven't thought about that since January. I want to avoid that. So make sure you got somebody you're checking in with every month for your game planning. But again, this is our last call of 2022. And I wanted to end it with just some real feel-good stuff. Okay, so I caught wind from Franco. I think we were just talking in Mexico at Grant Dean, or not Grant Dean's wedding, Dean Habib's wedding in Mexico. And we were just kind of talking about people. We had a lot of downtime, and he was giving me the 411 really on Anil's situation. Obviously, I knew Anil to be an immigrant coming over from Turkey. Starts in the business in October of 2019, I believe, and been an owner for a little better than a year. I knew he did well. I see the financial statements week after week. I see the sales. I'm like, oh, he's done well. He saved almost $100,000, his first year in business. The part I didn't know, and the part that reason I want to really bring this up on the call, I think Anil should be on everybody's radar. In everybody's office, you're going to recruit an immigrant. Now, somebody born and raised in America, I don't know if Americans have as deep of an appreciation for their country as immigrants do. And maybe it depends on what country you come from. Like, I came from Canada. Canada is like a suburb of America for the most part. And I'm sure there's some Canadians that totally disagree with that, but it's like the 51st state almost, in Canada, but it's not that different. But some other countries, like, no, there's a deep appreciation for the United States and the freedom we have over here. The part I didn't hear, and again, I'm going to deflect to Anil. I don't want to run this call. This is really Anil's call. But, he brought his brother over. So he's gone through the naturalization process for his brother. And this just made me so proud of Anil and the business that we're in, that he's looking in the Q2, second quarter of 2023, to bring his mom and dad over. And not only is he going to bring his parents over to the United States, he's now house shopping again with all the money he's had saved. He's going to buy a big enough house in San Antonio that he's going to move the whole family in. And I'm just like, what an immigrant success story that we have in our business. And so if I have a guy in my business who's from another country, I am letting him know the Anil bio and connect him with Anil, because I just think it's such a motivating story. So Anil, I'm going to pass it over to you. First off, tell me, correct me on any of the information I have wrong, first of all. And if it's right, just talk us through this whole like immigrant mentality and just touch upon that for us.
Right, for sure. Jamie, thanks for having me. I mean, I appreciate the kind words. First of all, before I start, I'm just going to go raw, unfiltered. I hope immigration is not listening. Second of all, if anybody has a hard time understanding my English or anything like that, hit me up after the call. I'll give you the subtitle version. But let me start with my background and a quick story of how I came to United States and how I started in the business. And then if you want me to talk about anything else, just let me know. First of all, born and raised in Turkey, finished the high school in Turkey, got into college. First year, I was studying business management. And as I was going through school, deep down, I was just feeling like I wasn't fitting in the culture, right? I felt like I had more potential, and I felt like I needed to explore more, meet with new people, associate myself with new cultures. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to start traveling. So within the the first 2 years span, I traveled about 20 countries, and that taught me a lot of things about myself, right? And I said, you know what, I just want more. And I found an opportunity to come to United States, and it was a student exchange program. It called Work and Travel, right? And the program itself is 3 months you get to work during the summer, and then 1 month you get to travel after you finish working. And my mindset was like, give me the ball, I'm just gonna run with the ball, right? So I don't care like what kind of job. And we had like a couple other options. It could be serving, it could be bartending, lifeguard, so on and so forth. For me, I had no preference. I just like put me in the spot, and I found a job in San Antonio. Let me say this: I did not know anything about San Antonio other than San Antonio Spurs, and I'm not a basketball fan, so it just really didn't make sense. But let's go Spurs. And the job that I found was housekeeping job in Holiday Inn in San Antonio, and this was like 2016. So 2016, the minimum wage is $7.50, and I was getting paid $8.25. So I'm like, hell yeah, right? And that summer, I worked for 3 months, and my average week I was working like 63 hours, and that was about like $500 net. So every month I was making $1,600, and what I was doing was like American success story, where cleaning shit and like cleaning restrooms, cleaning the hotel rooms. But it was something that was really powerful that really taught me something about myself, which was working hard, right? So like I just separated myself in the hotel, where like first one in, last one out, and I was just willing to put in the work. And that summer I told myself, hey, you know what, like maybe like I want to stay here, what am I going to do, like what's the worst thing that can possibly happen? So I'm just going to push my limits, and instead of going back, I'm just going to stay here. It wasn't an easy conversation. I called my mom, my dad, and I told them, hey mom, hey dad, like 19 years old, I'm broke, but I think I'm going to stay in the United States. I definitely don't want to go back. And Jamie, you have kids, so like imagine you're a kid calling you, hey mom, like I'm just gonna move across the world, 19 years old, you would freak out. And as my parents did the same thing as well. My mom pretty much didn't talk to me for like almost 6 months, but none of those things like really affected me or like derailed me from what I wanted to do, right? And I needed a job, and I found another job. It was a sales job at the mall, working at a virtual reality kiosk. And I met with this drug called commission, right? I say drug because it's addictive, right? And I said, I needed to put myself in a spot where I established myself in the United States. And I said, hey, instead of using bus, point A to point B in San Antonio, if you want to use a bus, it's 2 hours. So I'm just going to establish myself, buy a car, and like go all in. There's no back door. So I'm just going to figure out a way to create myself a life here. I had a friend in Houston, and he was selling cars. So I reached out to him. I told him, hey, like I want to buy a car. Can you help me out? And he said, don't worry, how much do you have? I had $1,500. I said, hey, I have $1,500. He said, buy a ticket, come to Houston, and we'll find you a car. And I'm like, okay. I bought a one-way ticket to Houston with Greyhound. It was a bus trip. I took the bus, went to Houston, and I just don't wish that trip on my worst enemy, right? For multiple different reasons, which I'm not going to go in. But it was just like pretty ghetto, right? Ghetto side of Houston. So I just figured it out. But like my mindset was, I'm just going to like figure things out. I went all in, and with the job that I had, I worked at the mall for 2.5 years, commission sales. And I think the moral of any immigrant story is we're just willing to work hard, right? Like we're just willing to work hard for the things that we want. And that was my story. And after the mall, I was looking for like another sales role, and I was like pretty set on, I just want commission, where somewhere that I can go and be in control of how much money that I was making. And I didn't get anybody to tell me how much I was worth, because I was in the one that was in control of my power, right? So I got a phone call from my current recruiter right now, and she said, hey, like we saw your resume, we really liked, we want to invite you for a first round interview. And I said, okay, like let's give it a shot. It's a sales role, so why not? I went in for a first round interview in person. The interview slot was 15 minutes, and it went for 35 minutes. And I met with Franco, and during the interview process, he just break down everything. He break down the job description, he break down pay, he break down everything that was going on. And I just asked him 2 questions, right? The first question was, how old are you? And he said, I'm 27, going on 28. And I was like, okay. And then the second question was, so you're telling me if I come in as an entry level sales role, I have a shot at being able to put myself in somewhere that I can own something. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I didn't ask any other questions. I didn't ask what we're doing, what the client, what else it is. Just said, sign me up, teach me everything that you do, and show me the ropes, right? And that's how I basically end up in business, or how I started in the business.
And so, I mean, it's great. It's a great start. And so your first year in business, I mean, you saved a little under 100 grand. Do I have that stat correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, so that's pretty good. I mean, I assume that exceeded your expectations, or is that like, actually, no, I thought I'd do better? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
My first year, when I finished the first 6 months, because I opened up on July 2021, and it was my first 6 months, and my W-2 for my first 6 months plus like what I worked as a field rep was 82,000, right? Which was a big money, because like I had a big jump from 40,000 to 82,000, and that felt comfortable. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty good. And me and my mentor, we were talking about our goals, and he asked me, what do you want to get done? And I said, yeah, I just want to get to 10 guys, right? And he just looked at me, and he was disappointed. He just like looked at me, he was disappointed. He's like, what do you mean you want like 10 guys? Like, that's your goal? And I was like, yeah, like I think that's my goal. And then I just took like a couple days, and I thought about like what he meant. And I was like, okay, wait, so like I'm thinking a little small about this, right? So I'm thinking a little small. I just need to stretch my goals, and I need to aim for something bigger, right? My goal was, when I was running this last 12 months, none of the goals that I had was monetary goal, right? I just dialed in aspects of, if I help as many people as possible, and if I touch as many lives as possible, the money was gonna follow, right? And then it was Franco that was pointing out about my year to date. Last week, I pulled up my year to date, and I was at $168,000 for the year as far as my profit went. And I was like, I didn't even fucking know, because I wasn't even checking that number on a weekly base. My goal was more like, hey, like I just want to get to a point where financially free, and like freedom of time, and all these concepts that I had in my mind. But I think it exceeded my expectations. But now it just made something within myself where I just raised my standard. Next year, I'm going for 200, 250, and why not like 500,000, right? So like I'm in that mindset right now.
Okay. And so touch upon your appreciation for America. Let's just go down a little patriotic artery here. Give us a little bit of your patriotism.
Right. I mean, I'm grateful, right? So when I was talking about like the first job that I had, and like the minimum wage and everything, I think the biggest differentiation point is back in my country, things takes time. In order for an individual to be able to, like the problems that we go through is totally different than the day-to-day problems that I'm seeing here. It's the problem of like not having the latest iPhone 14 is actually not a problem, because there are people that's in my country that's suffering hunger, like they don't have food to be able to feed their family. And like I think my appreciation is just everywhere that I go, left, right, in United States, everything is full of opportunity, and it's all about the perception that an individual does towards the surroundings that they have, basically. So, I mean, my appreciation just goes beyond,
Yeah. And I think, Gary Polson was telling me a story about his grandfather who, when he came over, he actually, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, he came to Canada. Gary's family migrated to Canada first. And so he's in Canada, and he goes to a grocery store for the first time, and he walks into a grocery store. Just picture this, an old man coming into a grocery store, and he, falls down on his knees and starts crying. And he's crying because of all the abundance. He'd never seen so much abundance. Like there's meat all over the place. There's fruit over there. There's vegetables. There's abundance, and everybody in the store doesn't even realize that there's abundance happening. He didn't experience that, in his country, I believe. It's either Russia or Poland. I want to say Poland. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we take for granted here, but yeah, there is opportunity at every turn. There's no doubt. I mean, we have abundance in the United States. And so again, you're bringing your family over. I mean, you already brought your brother.
Right.
You're looking at bringing your mom and dad over. So what's that perspective like? What's that motivation like? You want to just spend more time with them? They've been itching to come over here. Like, what's happening with the parents' immigration?
Right. I think it's two things. The first one is, I mean, over the course of last 5 to 6 years, I was lucky enough to be able to bring them to at least 1 or 2 weeks for them to be able to see. So every once in a year, I did that already. And the last time that they were here, I mean, my dad is almost 70 years old. So I don't know how long that they're going to be around, 10 years, 15 years more. And the conversation more like, hey, like, we miss you guys. And in my mind, I was like, I'm in a position where I can provide that to my family, you know, and I always wanted to, like, one of my core values is family. So I always wanted to be close to my family, but I just never thought that they will be open to an idea to move to here as well. Because again, they're super patriotic. They love Turkey. They love their family, their friends, and all that good stuff. But the conversation started like that. And then the second aspect to it is my mindset around this was ever since like the day one that I started in this business, I wanted the freedom of time so that way I could spend time with my family. And of course, I wanted the freedom of money simply because that gave me the opportunities that I wanted. If I wanted to go to Turkey for 2 months, 3 months, I was in control of that, and I was in a financial spot, or I was in a position to be able to do that. Now, within the last couple of years, ever since they came back, since they were open to that idea, I just suggested, hey, like, I'm gonna buy a house and I would love for you guys to be part of that. And they were super down. And like this idea of me like putting everybody from my family to a same house, I mean, that hasn't happened ever since I was 18. So the last 6 years or like 7 years, you know, I've been missing that point. So that's how that basically evolved.
Yeah. You know, in America though, we stick our old folks in like an old folks home. So you're not that American now. You haven't been you want to keep your parents in your house with you.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. My mom cooks so good for me to like put her in a retirement home or anything like that. I want to take advantage of that cooking, you know, and my dad is pretty handy. So like he has plans for a garden and all that stuff. So I'm like, hell yeah. Okay. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, my mom's been asking for a granny trailer lately. Do you know what a granny trailer is?
I have no idea. Let me Google that real quick.
Well, so I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen it. Like I think Elon Musk is starting to build them now. Those little homes that you can build, they sort of pop up, almost looks like a trailer home, if you will, whatever. So,
Uh-huh.
you know, so she's like, listen, I want my own residence. I don't want to be in your house, but I just want a little granny trailer where I'm like in your backyard kind of thing. I'm like, oh, that's cute, a little granny trailer. So,
Right.
a little food for thought there. And so, Anil, ever since I've known you, first time I met you, and even today, I think everybody could even, you know, be witness to this, where it's like, man, you're just a really enthusiastic guy. And so you've always been enthusiastic about our business. I'm just curious, like where that enthusiasm comes from. Why have you kind of found your niche and your love, you know, in this particular business?
Couple of things, right? Like why not this business? I mean, when I walked in from the door, I was 22 going on 23. So I was 22 years old, and I thought that I knew everything, but obviously I didn't know everything. And at the time, I had a really close friend of mine that we worked at the mall together at the same time. And I was super vocal about what I wanted to do with my life, commission, sales. You know, I love talking to people. So like I want something in that realm of things. And he was pretty much like me as well. He was the same way. He loved talking to people. He wanted to do sales. And he said he was applying for car sales jobs, right? And he got a job in Toyota. I don't know if I should disclose any of that, but anyway, so he got a job in Toyota and car sales. He's still there. It's like it's been 3 years, yeah, 3.5 years ago. So he took the route of car sales, and I was open with my options. I didn't want to put myself in car sales, real estate, XYZ. I just wanted to do whatever like that made sense. And it's been 3.5 years. He's still a sales representative. My mindset was I wanted to own something with sales, right? So when I first came in from the door, seeing the structure and the opportunity and the chance of owning something was super like charming to me. So like I was like, okay, like this is the type of business that I want to basically surround myself in. So that's how I started. And that's basically like ever since, you know, like seeing the changes within myself. I mean, today, the person that's speaking right now is totally different than the person that walked in from the door 3 years ago. So being able to see those changes within myself made me fall in love with the business. When I came in from the door, I did not need to make up my own pitch. I did not need to come up with the structure or anything like that. I did not need to reinvent the wheel. So it really made sense as a 22-year-old guy who thought that he knew everything. And that was a structure and a system in front of me that all I needed to do just put in the effort and follow those systems. And that was going to be able to guarantee me a long-term stable success, right? If that was a thing like stability, right? But like that was my mindset when I first started. And that's still my mindset. I mean.
Yeah, that's awesome. Excuse me. So Anil, you're on everybody's radar now. You've got an awesome immigrant story. I've worked with so many people over the years that they'd move here. And again, you just got that role model story of like, wow. So you not only found success, you know, in the business. I mean, just again, we can look at the numbers. I mean, you saved $100 grand. Next year, you're hoping to save 250 grand. Like, I mean, that's impressive, but I think even more impressive than that is the fact that you're helping bring your family over here. I mean, that's an immigrant dream come true, man. So great job being a great role model. And I hope next year we blow your phone up with calls and introducing you to some of our new people that look at you and say, man, I want my own Anil story. I just think it's awesome. So keep up all the great work, my friend.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Jamie. It means a lot. I mean, it's super rewarding. Thanks for having me. You know, I think it's super special.
Awesome. So guys, we're back on January 12th. So that's when we'll be back on. Feliz Navidad, Joyeux Noel, Feliz Año Nuevo. And how do you say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year in Turkish, Anil?
Mutlu yıllar.
Mutlu yıllar.
Yeah, that was pretty good, actually.
Okay.
I'll put it on chat too.
Okay, very good. All right, you guys, be well. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jamie.